What's up, ladies and gentlemen, wherever you are, I hope you're doing well. Main card predictions for UFC 316, and before I get into it, just a friendly reminder, if you enjoy UFC content, I have a lot. That's all I have, is UFC content. Is it the best quality? No, but do I have insane insights? Also no, but I will in the near future. So if you enjoy the video, please hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, I would really appreciate that. Yeah, let's start with the video. Starting off the main card inside of the welterweight division, Vicente Luque versus Kevin Holland. Now, if you don't know, this fight's gonna slap ass. This fight is going to be insane. Vicente Luque is 16-6. Kevin Holland is 14-10 inside of the UFC. Now, I made a video yesterday about who has more to lose in every single fight on the main card. If you want to revisit that video, you could just click that link. If you haven't seen it, it's a good watch. But basically, I argue that Vicente has more to lose. Now, if we look at Vicente's skill set with regards to his professional mixed martial arts career and how he approaches a fight, he has good striking and he's an insane Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu practitioner, has decent wrestling. All of his submission wins inside the UFC has been either a DAS or anaconda. Now, if you don't know, it's basically the same choke, it's just at opposite ends of the arm. And yeah, listen, whenever he sinks that in, just start tapping. The fight is indeed over, because he is a master at the DAS and at the anaconda. But if we look at his striking, so he has an orthodox stance, fights out of an orthodox stance, and basically he isn't really a volume guy. He doesn't throw a lot of combinations. He throws a lot of one-off punches or kicks. He has leg kicks. With regards to his right leg, he would use it to either kick to your leg, kick to your body. If he wants to go to your head, what he would usually do, and this is not something you see a lot, when he wants to close the distance, when he wants to enter, he doesn't really use it through a jab. So most people would either throw a jab or a double jab to close the distance. He would throw a straight right, and then basically as he throws a straight right, what he would do a lot of times is he would switch stances as he throws the cross, and then basically he would either go up top with the left head kick or basically just go for a hook. And he doesn't really jab a lot, which is also odd. Whenever he uses his lead hand, it would basically be for a check hook on the counter, and that's basically Vicente Luque and his striking. And he does pack a lot of power. His straight right is it is destructive. And Vicente has fought the who's who inside of the welterweight division. He's fought Tyron Woodley, Stephen Thompson, Mike Perry, Michael Chiesa, RDA. So I mean, even Joaquin Buckley. So he has fought a lot of high-level competition inside of the UFC. And if we look at Kevin Holland, basically with regards to experience, Kevin is vastly experienced within the UFC. The only difference is Kevin Holland usually fought at middleweight and welterweight. Haven't seen him fight at middleweight since the Reinier de Ridder fight, because he fought Gunnar Nelson right after that. And the problem is, it felt like middleweight has figured out a way of beating Kevin Holland, because he is a tall guy, but he's not really a big figure. So they are capable of taking him down relatively easily and basically just staying on top of them. We saw that with the Reinier de Ridder fight. We saw that with the Roman Dolidze fight. When Kevin Holland fought Marvin Vettori, he got taken down 11 times. So it just feels like middleweight might be too tough. At welterweight, Kevin has solid wrestling defense because he is stronger. He is a bigger frame for a welterweight rather than a middleweight. With regards to his striking, he is really a really quick striker, has fast punches, has a nasty 1-2, uses his hooks, way more of a combination guy rather than Vicente Luque. And whenever he has long levers. Okay, Kevin Holland could knock you out from the other side of the room. That's how long his arms are. And when he gets his opponents at the end of his punches, it's devastating. Almost knocked out Gunnar Nelson at the end of the very first round when he fought Gunnar Nelson. So listen, Kevin is a really sophisticated striker, especially a sophisticated puncher. He would use leg kicks, calf kicks, but you know, his bread and butter is his striking. And whenever he gets dropped, because he doesn't have a great guard, he has his head up a lot, does have a solid chin, but if he gets dropped, he basically relies on his Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu to get him out of trouble or striking from the bottom. We saw that with the Jacare Souza, we saw that with the Mikhail Olechechuk. So yeah, Kevin is really good. And with regard to Vicente, he does circle well, he does have a high guard, and it's very difficult to knock Vicente Luque out. I don't think Kevin would be able to knock out Vicente Luque. I don't think Vicente would be able to knock out Kevin Holland. I do think that wrestling is going to be a big focal point for Vicente Luque in this fight, and I think Vicente is going to use wrestling to win this fight, and I'm going to say Vicente Luque by unanimous decision. Then moving on to the next fight, Mario Bautista versus Patchy Mix inside of the bantamweight division. Now Mario Bautista is 9-2 within the UFC, and Patchy Mix is making his UFC debut. Do not let that fool you, because Patchy Mix was the bantamweight champion at Bellator, got signed to the UFC, and now he's making his UFC debut. Patchy Mix in his professional career is 20-1. Fun fact, he's either married to or dating Tatiana Suarez. A lot of wrestling happening in that relationship. Now, Mario Bautista and the way that he fights, basically a pressure guy, loves to move forward, have his opponent fight off his back foot, has good striking, has good wrestling, good grappling, and has good jiu-jitsu. A well-rounded fighter. 3 of his 9 wins has been via submission. So basically he wants to move forward, constant pressure, is somewhat volume, but mixes and takedowns as well, wants to drown his opponent and finish them via submission. Patchy Mix is basically just an insane grappler with really good striking, also well-rounded. If we look at Patchy in his professional career, out of his 20 wins, 13 of them have been via submission, and he has good striking as well. When he won the championship, the Bellator Bantamweight Championship, he fought Rufian Stotts, basically a knee up the middle, knocked out Stotts. Insane performance by Patchy Mix. Has a good jab, does a lot of his striking off of his jab, has good combinations, loves to move forward as well. So it's going to be interesting to see who dictates control, who's going to move forward, who's going to move backwards. With regards to grappling, I do think Patchy has the advantage. I'm going to pick Patchy to win this fight. I think level of competition, even though Mario has been inside of the UFC, Patchy has fought better competition. And I mean, Mario Bautista in his last fight against Jose Aldo, close, a really close fight. So yeah, I'm picking Patchy Mix to win. He is coming inside of the UFC, he is arriving inside of the UFC with a lot of aura. And warranted, because he is genuinely that good. The last time Patchy lost, the only time Patchy ever lost, was almost 5 years ago. So I'm gonna pick Patchy Mix to win this fight, and I'm gonna go with submission. You have to go with submission. Gonna say rear naked choke. I think he gets the better of Mario Bautista. I think he chokes him out. Patchy Mix via submission. I'm gonna go second round. Then moving on to the third fight, middleweight division, Kelvin Gastelum versus Joe Pyfer. Now Kelvin Gastelum is 13-9 inside of the UFC, and Joe Pyfer is 4-1 inside of the UFC. And if we can recall, this fight was initially scheduled for the 29th of March this year. But then Joe Pyfer pulled out of the fight due to illness, proceeded to urinate all over Mexico, saying that he will never fight there again. He wants to fight inside of the USA. Wish granted. Now if we look at this fight, it is basically resiliency versus power, speed, timing, and explosiveness. Because, listen, Kelvin Gastelum is basically the staple for being resilient, being tough, being durable. And I wouldn't say the same applies to Joe Pyfer, but Joe Pyfer is really explosive, has a lot of power, has speed, and has good timing. Now if we look at Kelvin Gastelum, predominantly a striker, he could mix in wrestling if he wants to, but he doesn't necessarily do that. He did it when he fought D-Rod, when he fought Daniel Rodriguez, but he likes to basically fight standing up. And with regards to his striking, he is a southpaw. He does love his jab. As a southpaw, you are obligated to use your jab, and he does. And he basically uses his left for, destructive force. when he uses his left, either it's his cross or it's his overhand, has good timing on that, has good power. He does have good footwork, he doesn't have good head movement, and he doesn't have a very good guard because, frankly speaking, he doesn't need it. We've seen Kelvin Gastelum eat shots after shots, which you would think, listen, that would knock out a gorilla. And Kelvin Gastelum just keeps on moving forward, loves to fight on the front foot, and he has good timing. Doesn't really use his kicks. He does have a calf kick, which he would sometimes use, but he wants to box. And if we look at Joe Pyfer, he fights from an orthodox stance, and listen, he is destructive. He does have a lot of power, he does have a lot of speed, has insane timing. He would mix it up. He likes to use his kicks, likes to use his punching as well. Obviously uses his jab. His straight right is menacing. He does have insane combinations, something you would not really see from someone who isn't a sophisticated striker. So he'd basically throw a right uppercut followed by a left hook to start a combination. You don't really see that a lot. So yeah, and with regards to Joe Pyfer, also mixes in his wrestling, something that I think will help him in this fight. When he fought Al Hassan, he used his wrestling, basically ended up getting an arm triangle, and yeah, listen, Joe Pyfer, well, I think he's more well-rounded than Kelvin Gastelum, and I'm gonna pick Joe Pyfer to win this fight. I don't think he knocks Kelvin Gastelum out because he doesn't have a sledgehammer, he can't take that into the octagon, but I do think that he ends up wrestling Gastelum and either wins on points, and I can honestly maybe see him get a submission win. We've seen Gastelum get submitted by Sean Brady via Kimura. I think that Joe Pyfer would be able to submit him with maybe a head and arm triangle, or just maybe, I don't know, something like an armbar. Yeah, but he's not knocking Kelvin Gastelum out. Maybe if he runs over him with his car, but with his hands, there's just no way. But I'm gonna pick Joe Pyfer to win. He's either gonna win via unanimous decision, just score better than Kelvin Gastelum, or he's gonna maybe go for a wrestling approach, a very wrestling heavy approach, and try and submit Kelvin Gastelum. So I'm gonna pick Joe Pyfer to win that fight. Then moving on to the co-main event, women's bantamweight division title fight, Juliana Pena versus Kayla Harrison. Now Juliana Pena is 8-3 inside of the UFC, and Kayla Harrison is 2-0 inside of the UFC. And I'm gonna be honest, I don't think it's impossible for Juliana to win, because obviously writing Juliana off would be stupid, it would be dumb, because we saw her beat Amanda Nunes as the biggest underdog ever within a women's fight. So yeah, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to say that there's no way, no possible reality in which Juliana wins. However, if Juliana wants to win, she's going to have to make it tough, she's going to have to make it dirty, she's going to have to wear down and try and wear out Kayla Harrison. And I just don't see that happening. Now, Kayla Harrison, obviously a two-time Olympic gold medalist in judo. So in the clinch, safe to assume that Kayla Harrison has the advantage. With regards to striking in the clinch, with regards to using the clinch to either sweep or trip Juliana Pena. And this is the problem. If Kayla Harrison gets Juliana down, I don't think Juliana would be able to stand up as easily as she did against Amanda. And if she's on bottom against Kayla Harrison will unleash scorched earth on Juliana Pena. She has ungodly ground and pound. When we look at her fight against Holly Holm, when we look at her fight against Caitlin Vieira, no person wants to be down there and basically see this barrage of missiles heading towards your head with devastating intent. Okay, nobody wants to see that. And the problem is, okay, a lot of people compare, Kayla Harrison to Ronda Rousey. But there's a massive difference. Ronda was insane and Ronda's judo was really good. But Ronda wasn't as well-rounded as Kayla is. Kayla Harrison on the feet, she's impressive. Okay, it does not look like someone who basically started, striking, was somewhat 10 years ago, where relatively I wouldn't say old, but I mean at 24 years old, it doesn't look like that. She looks sophisticated with her striking. And basically, The only thing the striking is there for is to help her get takedowns, because that's what she wants to do. She wants to get you on the ground and basically wants to send you somewhere. And it's not, it's not send you on a vacation. Well, it could be, but that's basically the game plan. And if we look at Kayla Harrison and her stand-up game, it's not bad. It's honestly, it's good. It has good footwork. She basically has good striking, and with regards to leg kicks, when she fought Caitlin Vieira, she used leg kicks to great effect, to the extent where she ended up a lot of times tripping Caitlin Vieira whenever Caitlin leaned forward and didn't really expect it. Now Juliana Pena is very front foot heavy, so you would assume that Kayla would take that same approach. I don't think that Juliana Pena would be able to avoid takedowns as well as Caitlin Vieira did, just because Caitlin is bigger, is stronger. Juliana isn't necessarily that. I can see Juliana winning. However, I can see that it is very unlikely. There's a reason why Kayla is this massive favorite. Even if the fight plays out on the feet, I don't really think Juliana is that much better. She has good feints, she does use her jab, she has a very solid high guard, she has a chin down, so she is good. Listen, Juliana Pena is really good. I just think that Kayla Harrison is this destructive force, basically a better version of Ronda Rousey, where she has better judo, she has better striking, and she is dominant, and her cardio holds up. It's not like she gets tired like Amanda Nunes, where in the first fight against Pena, we saw Amanda tire out basically in the first round, just throwing. Kayla Harrison, it doesn't seem like she gets tired. And I don't know how. I don't know how. She's massive, extremely muscular. So Kayla Harrison's just being impressive. I just think that she's a force of nature, the unstoppable force, and I don't see Juliana stopping her. I wouldn't touch this fight though, just because of Juliana being in it. But yeah, I think Kayla Harrison wins. And honestly, I think it might be dominant. I think it might be a third round TKO victory. Just ground and pound, ref steps in and says, listen, enough. Because every time we've seen Kayla Harrison, it has felt like she improved. She improved with her striking, she improved with her entries, improved with her grappling. And respectfully, it doesn't feel the same with Juliana. With her win against Raquel, it was very close, could have gone either way. A lot of people thought that Raquel won that fight, and Kayla Harrison just feels inevitable. So with everything, this is basically, I'm picking on feel, and I'm feeling, I'm not gonna say that I'm feeling Kayla Harrison, but I feel like Kayla Harrison is winning this fight, and winning it in dominant fashion. Then moving on to the main event, bantamweight division, Merab Dvalishvili, the champion, versus the contender Sugar Sean O'Malley. Now Merab is 12-2 inside the UFC, and Sean O'Malley is 10-2 inside the UFC, and Merab is currently on the longest winning streak ever within the bantamweight division of the UFC. So that is insane. And I rewatched their first fight and basically went round for round and somewhat saw how it played out and how it could possibly be different. I just, once again, with the way that Merab fights, it is extremely difficult to prepare for that, because it's gonna be constant pressure. And he basically wants to tire you out. It's like you and I having a race, a 10-kilometer race. And I know for a fact that if you run your pace, then you would probably win. But if I can entice you to run my pace, then you will most definitely lose. And I'm almost guaranteeing that I'm gonna entice you to run or provoke you to run my pace. That's what it feels like. Because it feels like with Merab's pressure, whether you defend his takedowns or not, you're gonna get tired. He's not gonna stop. And he doesn't just shoot blindly, everything is methodical. His striking is methodical. The way that he basically would circle, right? He would circle, and every now and then He would just hop somewhat forward, but he stays completely out of range, out of kicking range, out of striking range. He stays safe and he circles. Whenever he feels like it, he would just hop a little bit forward and basically close the distance just a little bit, then circle again. And whenever he feels like he is at that point where he could either go for a takedown or get in a strike, he would either blitz and maybe land an overhand right, or maybe just land a check hook and then basically just pop out. And it's like that, and you don't touch him. And the problem is, in the first fight, Sean O'Malley didn't throw a lot of kicks because he didn't want Merab to catch his kicks and then basically end up on the ground. But then we saw in the 5th round that the teep kicks, the front kicks, really do a lot of damage, and it's difficult to catch a front kick. So I think for Sean, that's gonna be the main game plan and dictating the fight. Because in the first fight, whenever Sean was reacting to what Merab did, Merab dominated the fight. But when Sean pushed the pace and when Sean was applying pressure, it kind of went his way. So he's gonna have to fight on the front foot. He cannot afford to move backwards because it gets to a certain point where he's close enough to the cage, and you basically know. You don't have to be a soothsayer. You know that Merab's gonna shoot, and he shoots, and there's nothing you can do about it. And he takes you down, and he controls you for the half of the round. You have to get up, you have to expend energy. I don't see this fight going any different because Merab naturally has better cardio than Sean O'Malley, and his fighting style is predicated on pressure, predicated on having insane cardio. And also, Merab's not a bum on the feet. He has good hands, has good kicks. He dropped Umar. It's not like, now respectfully, right? I'm saying this respectfully. It's not like Khabib, where it's just wrestling, and if the fight plays out on the feet, then you're safe, okay? It's not like that. Even though Khabib is probably the best wrestler ever within the UFC, Merab has good hands, has good striking as well, uses that to set up his wrestling, where a lot of times it would look like he throws an overhand but basically just going for a takedown, and you don't know which is which until you wink and then you're on your back. And I don't see this going any other way. I basically see it being a replica of the first fight. I could maybe see Sean winning around less, and whoever scored the previous fight, a 48-47, okay, 2 judges did. They need to get fired. There's no way Sean won 2 rounds. Okay, you could argue that he won 1. You could argue that. But Merab dominated that fight. And round for round scoring dominated that as well. And I think it's going to go the exact same way. I even think that it could be unanimously 49-46 and Merab wins. I don't think that Sean is able to withstand that pressure, to avoid the takedowns. You're going to get taken down. It's going to be how he responds. Does he have the cardio to constantly stand up, constantly just move forward, try and get Merab to fight off the back foot, initiate first instead of reacting, throw your front kick, throw the straight to the body, which he used, which really did a lot of damage at the end of the fight. He's gonna have to go for the body. Will it be there? I think Merab is rather gonna improve way more in looking back at their first fight than Sean has places to improve on. And I'm gonna pick Merab to win by unanimous decision. I think that's it. Yeah. So let me know in the comment section, which picks do you disagree with? Which fight do you think will be the fight of the night? And who's gonna receive a performance of the night bonus on the main card? I would really appreciate that. Have a beautiful day, and I'll catch you in the next one.